pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. First item on the agenda is approval of the February 4th business session minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any public comments?
I wanted to bring up,
If you can come up here and stand by the crack in the floor.
That's the theme.
The seam, I'm sorry. And your name and address, please.
my name is Abdullah Mansha. I live on 414 Adams Street.
What's your question or comment?
So I know there's a lot of laws or ordinances on growing weeds, so you can't have plants over 12 inches. I talked to you yesterday morning. So I asked him if I could grow a front yard butterfly garden. He said I couldn't with the current ordinances. So I want to make sure we can change that to allow that. I have a few things I wrote down to add to that. That I can remember. So back when these laws were written, there was probably still a lot of prairies and forests still around this area, but if you take a drive around, it's just cropland now. So there's nowhere for the birds and bees and butterflies to eat and just have habitat. So we gotta do something in our city, because we don't have any, we can't go against the farmers at the moment. We can't change their minds with the right to farm in Missouri. So I want to at least do something in the city and use it to be an inspiration for other cities so they can do what we do here. I want more people to grow butterfly gardens to provide habitat for the creatures that inhabited this area way before we did as humans.
What does this butterfly garden look like? What kind of plants are you gonna be growing?
There's milkweed. There's a few different milkweeds. Is anybody familiar with the monarch butterfly?
Yeah, they feed off milkweed.
Yes. So that's pretty much their only feed is milkweed.
Also known as dandelion.
Dandelions is not native. There is native dandelions, but I want to focus on natives, not species from other countries. So whatever was already here, food for whatever was already here. I didn't bring a big list of what's available, but as far as trees go, we can put oaks, maples, pines, cottonwoods as pioneer species. Those are the species that give shade and help start a new area. So if somebody were to try to convert farmland back into a native habitat, they'd start with those trees because it helps establish the microorganisms in the root system too. I'm still new to this, only been learning about this for about 4 or 5 years. I wish I could get somebody from the Missouri Department of Conservation here to help me out with this, but we can do that in the future. As far as food, we can put food trees all around here too. Stuff that wildlife and we can eat too, such as plums, mulberries, persimmons, pawpaws, cherries, elderberries. Some of those can be short-growing trees, some of them can be big. As far as the pollinators, the milkweed, bee balm, horse mint, there's a few different lobelia species, echinacea, iron, indigos. These are just to scratch the surface. And to replace grasses, which will also give habitat to other birds and snakes. Snakes are not bad. A lot of people are afraid of snakes, but they were also around here in white oak grama, and prairie rock seed.
Okay, my question is, are you wanting to do that in your front yard, or you wanted the city to do it in the park area, or what's your plan?
I want to do it in my front yard. I want the parks to adapt it. I want,
I can tell you, you're gonna get a weed letter if you can have milkweed and some other things that get that high.
I know that.
And your neighbors are not gonna be very happy with you.
That's why I called and asked, so
But I understand.
And the park does have a butterfly.
Yeah, the park has a butterfly.
it's very minimal. Barely enough to have any, but
So Dylan, he approached me, a few days ago, I think it was maybe the last week or something like that. And I encouraged him to go up and speak to the board about it, because it's easier for him to go talk about it.
Absolutely.
And, I encourage the butterfly garden, of course, and I just refer to the one in the park. Maybe, my recommendation, maybe you talk to Ms. Miles, she's on the parks board, and you might be able to, understanding that your neighbors wouldn't be comfortable growing the weed, you grow in what we know as butterfly garden, but they don't know that. So maybe she can assist you and maybe make things a little bit better, maybe you can assist at the park and still instill what you want to instill in the community and have a hand in contributing to the park system.
so a lot of what people consider the weedy look, I consider that a beautiful garden. So
And what percentage do you think that would be for someone to drive down the street and see milkweed and other things sitting, growing in your yard? My son lives over in Shawnee, and everybody's griping because this guy put one in, and, to me, it's an eyesore in the community. I know what you're saying, put it in your backyard, not in your front yard.
why not both?
I just said, you're gonna get neighbors very irritable with you. That's
But
what
people spend a lot of money to make their yards look more like a golf course. And then when your milkweed blows over into their yard, that's gonna create work for them.
So what about me, who wants to have my yard the way I want it? What if their grass seed blows over it?
So again, I think that's why you vote and whoever's got the votes gets what they want, I guess.
I understand that, but this isn't just about humans. These creatures have been here. This is their home. So they gotta have somewhere to live. We don't have anywhere left for them. So,
But I think Mr. Jones made a good point, is maybe do it in your backyard if you're gonna do it, but
but
otherwise you're gonna get.
Maybe use your backyard as an educational resource for your neighbors at the time.
I still can't do it in my backyard because of the,
Oh, he can't do it in his backyard either, okay.
Yeah, the ordinance says any vegetation over 12 inches is not allowed, so,
Yeah, all vegetation 12 inches or more in height, which may emit unpleasant or noxious odors or transmit pollen into the air at any stage of maturity. All vegetation regardless of height, including thickets which may conceal light, deposits, etc. Yeah, so,
yeah, and I talked to the city attorney just to get their feeling, that's the same thing, so that we got an ordinance in place, you can't do it, I'm like that.
Have you tried it in your backyard and had complaints?
I haven't had any complaints with, food gardens. I haven't done butterfly garden here yet. That's why I called
Pretty
first to
nice.
make sure I could.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, this is just me, but if the neighbors don't mind, I don't know that it's gonna hurt anything.
Well, then we probably need to revisit the ordinance, because I don't guess a tomato plant gets more than 12 inches.
Oh,
yeah.
The ones I was growing in my hydroponic garden got 8 feet.
And like the ordinance is under is titled rank weeds.
Is what?
Rank weeds.
Oh,
There's a different one where it just says 12 inches. It doesn't, there's nothing that allows a garden. There's no exceptions.
I just going through the ordinance. Can you tell me what the ordinance number is?
215, chapter 215, 30, number 15 there.
At bottom 15 talks about junk cars, and the bottom says these also declare nuisance.
Ah,
You get a
okay.
list of that, too.
I didn't go through the whole thing.
That's fine. I just look for weeds and then I look for inches, and so.
It's really only a nuisance if it bothers somebody though, right?
Well, another thought is, and I'm not trying to go with what this, out there, yeah, I thought that me and the attorney talked about who's to know what is a butterfly garden. Somebody else could say, hey, hang up on my lawn for the rest of this year, it's a butterfly garden.
Just the front yard.
We'd have to define what a butterfly garden is at that point.
Yeah.
So
snakes
People
and
do not
whatever
run in
else,
their yards.
which is addressed in the ordinance.
And why are they that thing?
Some of them are vectors for disease.
What,
Rats and mice carry fleas and other things which promote disease transmission.
do you guys still spray for mosquitoes?
Not so much.
Alright, do you see any dragonflies around anymore?
Okay.
I don't have a pond with scum on one reason.
Do they come out there?
I said I don't have one, so I don't reason they're not running around.
But these are some creatures that could, but why kill all of them just because of a few that may show up?
Okay, well, we appreciate your concern and thank you for coming this evening, and we move on to the line, so. Is there anyone else that has public comment? Yes, sir.
It's Doug Thomas, I live at 120 Cooper Street, and I today would like to discuss a water bill that I just received in the mail. For nothing else, other than just for recognition to kind of understand what I've gone through, and hopefully no other constituent has to go through this in the future. I received a bill in the mail for $303.07. I was a little alarmed by that because my water bill is typically around $100, $120 a month. So I immediately called up as soon as I opened the mail. Keep in mind, I pay online, I keep a calendar, so 4 or 5 days before the bill is due, which was President's Day, I would open my bill, look it over, and pay it ahead of time. I noticed it was $303.07. I immediately tried to get a hold of our city water clerk. First of all, I want to say for the record that she has been nothing but a great help to me. She's been able to answer any questions, and in no way, shape, or form is any of this any of her fault. She's been nothing but a good help. I did try to call her, however, there was some inclement weather. I'm not 100% sure, but people may or may not have been inside City Hall 1 or 2 days, particularly Tuesday, Wednesday last week. I did get hold of somebody on Thursday, which was not the city water clerk. I left a message due to more weather and President's Day and the overload of work that she had had. I just spoke with her today regarding this matter. Since then, I took it upon myself to go through my house and make sure that I didn't have any leaks, I didn't have any standing water outside, backyard, front yard, no pipes burst, anything like that. I've deemed this to possibly a toilet that is in my basement that my teenagers use and are not closing it correctly. So I think I isolated my problem. So the issue that I have here is I was a little alarmed, and I understand from the meter to my house and what have you, that is my responsibility. If I use the water, that's my water. If it goes down the sewer, that's my sewer. I am a constituent inside the city that does like to water my grass. I do grow a green yard. I do not like weeds. On October last year, I used almost 20,000 gallons of water just watering my grass for the fall seed. Following year, or the year prior to that, July and June, I did a spring seed, a little bit late, but I used 18,000, 17,000 gallons of water. My water bill comes in, I expect it. I do pay the city sewer on top of that, even though it does not go through the sewer. So I did find this bill, I did contact her, I was able to get a printout of itemized list, hour by hour, as to when things were happening. There's no equation to this. I can't put like a, this is what's actually going on. I'm calculating this all to my fault in my own house. However, we do have a system in place that if your water runs for, I think, a 24-hour period, that it sends an alert, an alarm, that way somebody is notified. Okay? In some cases, I don't use more than 1,000 gallons in a day. In particularly 50 gallons at the most per hour. So a lot of my hour by hours are over 200 gallons a minute, where, let's say, for just argument's sake, it's the toilet that's running nonstop. Well, even with the sprinkler running pretty much all day, every day, for 3 weeks straight, I'm using 18, 19,000 gallons of water in my yard, sprinkler running all day. So a toilet here and there, 4 hours at a time, It is all in the paperwork saying that, that the water is being used. My biggest problem is, number one, I'm here to ask to see if there's anything that you guys can do to remedy this, because not only did the bill come in the mail and I found out the $303.07, but I've actually got the printout of the following month, which was another, so the first bill, just so everybody knows, 24,000 gallons of water used is $303. That is including sewer. So my next bill is 17,000 gallons of water, and it comes out to be $224.07. So as soon as I open this and realize there's an issue, I have mountains of, I have $300 worth of water that's went down my drain. And I understand that's my fault, to an extent. It's my toilet, it's my teenagers. But number one, can we do anything to rectify this? Is there anything that would be willing to do on the city's behalf to help me out with this bill? And if not, can we put something in place that might be able to read our water systems if we see spikes of any kind for, say, a 4-hour period instead of a 24-hour? Because the entire month from December 15th through January 15th, there is no alert. The entire month from January 15th through February 16th, on the 10th of February, there actually was an alert. So it was almost 2 months later before anybody was notified. So question number one, I hate to repeat myself, is there anything that you guys would be willing to do? If not, I'd be more than happy to pay the bill. But first and foremost, so this doesn't happen to any other constituents inside the city, is there anything that we can put in place so this doesn't happen to anybody else? Because I can see this being a hardship, a very financial hardship for some unfortunate citizens inside the city.
My first question is gonna be to Joe, how does that alert system work, we all know?
Folks, it reads, 24-hour period, so it reads one time, and then it takes 24 hours to get to City Hall, or load up at the City Hall, because what they do, each meter reads to the nearest meter, and then it shoots up to either the park, down at the old swimming pool, or the water tower. So they only get that once a day, and then it takes 24 hours to get it to the City Hall. And we contacted the center, and they said that there's nothing that we can really do.
You can have a transmission more frequently.
You know, do we make it read more frequently?
So when we get that alert, what do we do at that point?
Well, what's supposed to happen is Casey gets an email, alert on her saying that, hey, this is high, or whatever. And in the past, she's called. I don't know what happened here, I don't know why he wasn't.
Yeah, so they never threw an alert, which was the problem, which is kind of why.
Yeah, usually she would call, she
Well,
gets.
you said you had one alert on
I
that,
did
correct?
actually, and if you'd like to look at it after paperwork.
Did anybody contact you?
So she didn't, and to her credit, I understand why. And why she would not is because, sorry about that. I don't have anything to put the papers on.
So you know,
But if you notice, so it's 25 hours, right, is what I counted. And it's 10, 10, 80, 120, 50, 60, 40, these are all gallons a minute. It goes 24 times to throw the alert. It goes 25 times, it throws it again. But shortly after that, it's at a 0, which means it has stopped. So I can understand why she wouldn't call, because she can see a 0 and then it stopped. My issue is not that the alert system does or does not work, because I do know people in town that have been contacted and they've been told that, hey, something's going on, 24 hours, like, you're using a lot of water, let's get it fixed, regardless of where it's at or whose problem it is. But some of these that you kind of flip through, 120, these are all highlighted, 220 gallons in 1 hour. Here's, 20 hours worth, 4,370 worth of gallons of water in 20 hours, and because it wasn't 24 hours, it did not flag the system.
My question is though, I thought like standard faucets flow 2 gallons per minute or something like that.
Yeah, and that's, when I
So to flow that much, could we check his meter just to make sure that for some reason the meter's not?
Well, that's what we're gonna ask them.
Check the meter.
that would be great if you want to check the meter, I would appreciate that. Aside from me paying the bill, that's, if I need to pay for it, I do understand that I've used the water, it has went through my household, it's my responsibility inside the house, it has went through your sewer systems, so I understand that. I should have said number one, my concerns is that this doesn't happen to somebody else. Because I feel like I'm in a place in my life where if I do need to pay this bill, I can. I don't feel like that's necessarily the case for some citizens in the city. And if this were to happen to them, what kind of financial hardship would they be in over, $300 to $350 worth of water that they did not know about for, almost 2 months?
Right.
If we can do something, move a motion, something to, maybe some research, just anything or any,
Could we hold that bill for 30 days and just verify the meter to make sure that there's not an error that?
Yeah, because you have a list of the meters that have been replaced and haven't been replaced yet, and you can, you want that address.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
feel
later
like
on,
it's the meter.
maybe later on next week, it's supposed to be up in the, above freezing, because right now we don't like popping any kind of lids, because
Oh, no,
you chance
that's
of blowing out the bottom of the meters, but yeah, next week it's looking nice, we can have Wilson go over there and do what we call it, 5-gallon bucket test, where he gets 5-gallon bucket, gets a meter, and runs his water to make sure it equals the same.
So I think like, I guess the toilet line going to the toilet is the same as faucet, things like that, like a 5/8 line, but in some other cases where you have, a 3/4 inch line that runs outside your house, and
Right.
the faucet on the backside, I can see it using that much gallons a minute, hence why I brought up that I water my garden, I'm sorry, not my garden, my yard, with a sprinkler for 2-3 weeks nonstop, in said month. So I'm actually using more, by 5,000 gallons a month, more water in a toilet than I've used watering my grass in 3 weeks, so.
Right, that number seems a little
It seems
Little high.
high, yeah.
Yeah.
So while the bucket test is great, if we can find out the last time that meter has been, replaced or what have you, to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Take the
Suspend
time,
that bill for a
please,
month.
just food for thought. I don't want to see this happen to anybody else. I would ask you guys if there's anything that you could do about the bill. If not, I 100% understand. Maybe put the money towards getting this fixed or resolved, or some kind of system that alerts after, say, 6 hours, if that's possible.
Well, go to Tyler, if not, but we could, but I know, Casey told me this afternoon that Tyler Tech is working on the website, they pay the bills, they can see the monthly usage, but they are working on doing weekly and daily, but that's coming.
It'd be handy if the
Yeah.
end
That's
user
good.
could look and see.
Yeah, that's
real
coming
time
in the
what
near
their
future,
usage is.
that'd be available on the website where they can look at because right now, all they can do is look at the monthly.
Mhm.
Tyler's working on where they can look at weekly and get it down to daily, but that's coming up in the future.
Yeah, but even if he could have looked yesterday and saw that he used 500 gallons or
Yeah.
something, that we knew wasn't at home.
So keep in mind, we're a family of 7 living inside one house. We shower every night, we wash our dishes once a day, we have lots of laundry and what have you. And I don't see my gallons per minute go over 80 gallons a minute at the most, and that's if something crazy is happening. It's usually somewhere between 20 to 50 at the most. That's if everybody quick showers within a certain amount of time. So to see a 240 gallon a minute usage off of a toilet, either something's not right, which I'm taking full responsibility for, or.
But that's almost a fire hose kind of.
Yeah.
They shouldn't use that much water.
I don't
Even
believe
if they're
so
running
either,
like that.
so, you guys, I appreciate your time, I really do. You guys are welcome to any of this information that I have, I'd be happy to leave it with you if you'd like to research
Casey
it.
can have that.
Yeah, Casey.
Casey has everything, so,
Next week, I just want to get the guys out there this week, check your meter.
okay.
And then we'll get in touch with you, let you know what they found.
Thank you for your time, and hopefully this doesn't happen to somebody else inside the city, so thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a motion to suspend that bill or anything?
I think I can do that, can't I?
But,
I can have you just hold that bill for
Yeah.
30 days.
yeah.
Okay. Any additional comments?
I want to come back up there, because
No,
nothing,
we're now moving through, we've heard that.
I didn't feel like anything was, I didn't know if anything was gonna happen after that, though.
We can make it an agenda item for a future meeting, but we're not gonna do all that tonight, I can tell you.
There's some more stuff that I wanted to cover along with that, like compost.
If you want to meet up, I can meet up with you sometime and get your information that you want to present to the board, and then I can get it submitted to the board for an agenda if you'd like to meet up sometime in the next week, I'd be more than happy to.
Alright, how soon could something be done? Cause
Something like that, I mean, it's nothing that's overnight.
cause the garden, I got a plan for it now, so the sooner the better.
Well, get your plan together, get it all drawn out, get what you want to use, get a hold of me, and I'll come meet up with you. And then I can, like I said, I'm more than happy to present it to the board and see what they say.
Alright, so nothing till at least a month from now.
Committee reports, admin and finance committee, nothing new to report at this point in time. Public health and safety committee,
We're being told our vehicle will be out of the shop from equipment install, probably mid next week. Hopefully, if they stick with it, they still have to have a radio install and graphics. So we're hoping probably 3 more weeks or so, and then we'll have it back.
park board, planning and zoning, public works, fairs and festivals.
No.
Old business, we have none. Brings us to discussion, consideration, and action regarding the Buckner Chamber of Commerce placing banners on the downtown light pole. Who wants to present that?
I don't know, I'll speak, because I was approached by, members of the Chamber of Commerce they were wanting to put banners, fabric banners that you see in a lot of people's downtowns, Hudson, from Tranquil Highway down to Washington. And as my understanding, they got 2 types they was looking at, one's gonna be like patriotic one, and one's gonna be like shop local.
Yeah, like some pictures of those.
And they are just asking for permission to, if I said they're gonna purchase it and install them, they just asking permission to use the poles.
Just vertical banners.
Yeah, just your standard ones in the city. We wanted to start downtown and then maybe work our way up over the next year with them. But it's just the typical ones you see in all the
Is it gonna be
cities.
seasonal, or what are you gonna call?
We'll probably get like red, white, and blue to start off.
Uh-huh.
I just got the prices today, so yes, eventually, hopefully, we'll have some like maybe Christmas time, springtime. But, yeah, so we just want to get permission to,
And it's all coming out of the chamber, the city's not on the hook for no money at all. It's
Correct.
for the pole. Okay.
correct,
Yeah, if they get damaged, you guys will replace them.
yes.
Move to approve?
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next up, presentation by Port Osage School District, Dr. Snodgrass.
Good evening, how are you guys tonight? Good to see you. I have a handout.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, it's warmed up for us, Brandon.
Something you can put in your hand.
It's warmed up for us a little bit. We're excited about that, aren't we?
Well, thanks for having me tonight. My name is Jason Snodgrass. I'm the superintendent of schools at Fort Osage. We're proud of Buckner at Fort Osage School District. We're proud of the elementary school here. There's a rich tradition here in Buckner. It's always exciting to drive through the revitalized downtown here, so you guys are doing some good things, so good job. On April 6th, the Fort Osage School District has 2 issues on the ballot, both of which are no tax increase for voters. I want to go through that and share this information with you. So I'll kind of go through and show you just the first page here. In 2017, we had a no tax increase bond issue at Fort Osage School District. We were really proud of those projects. Pictured there is Woodland Early Childhood Center. The other project there is a major project was the district stadium. That project specifically won the best project in Missouri and Kansas for that entire year for under $10 million, and we're proud of that. Also, the new playground equipment and soft play, Buckner Elementary also received that. They also have their walking trail that's around that repaved, you might remember that. Just another improvement we made beyond that here in Buckner around the elementary was a new fence to improve that space. And then the enclosure at the high school, which was a real good improvement, safety improvement for us. We also use that space for some some extra cafeteria space, and also just for students who utilize that for some classroom overflow. You go to the next page, briefly mentioned, we go through an extensive process to determine what is important and what are the priority projects to accomplish in our school district. In 2016, we did a major study with our architect. They went through every building, and they had 19 priority projects they helped us identify. So in 2017, we accomplished 6 of those 19. This is the second phase. We have 6 more projects that we have identified. We had a community engagement meeting. 3 of them sat down in October with folks in our community, and they helped us prioritize these, and then later the board voted to approve those. The first item that's on the question 1, no tax increase bond issue, is kitchen improvements. Every single kitchen in our school district will receive an improvement. 5 elementary schools, which includes Buckner Elementary. And then we have Fire Prairie Upper Elementary, Osage Trail Middle School, and the high school. Every one of them completely remodeled, makes them more efficient, new flooring, new electrical. It's a lot. If you would go to Buckner right now, the elementary school, I could show you very easily that the space is just inadequate and needs updated. Beyond that, one of the projects that I'm excited about, and you can see in the upper left-hand corner of the picture and then the one below it, these are district freezers and or refrigerators. Every kitchen has one. You'll notice that there's a walk. They have to walk outside the door. They're in inclement weather. It's cold, it's slippery, it's raining, so the enclosure will really make that a really good safety improvement as well. Transportation, maintenance, and district office. This is one combined building, and I'll explain the reasoning for that. Every one of those 3 buildings, we'll start with the transportation, is undersized. There's one restroom, so if you go up about any point during a transition between routes, with one restroom, you'll have 10 or 15 people waiting on that restroom. That causes a lot of issues with the timing, getting folks out in the bus routes, those things like that. The meeting space is inadequate. It's very challenging, despite or regardless of a pandemic and social distancing. Without that, it's challenging to meet with the 50 drivers that we have. And so we're looking to improve the space, not only the indoor space there, but also the maintenance area where we service the buses. The maintenance building is also undersized. We have a lot of equipment that's sitting outside, needs to be brought in and out of the weather. We also have just an inadequate space for folks to work, and just a lot of improvements that need to be made to that building. The last one there is the district office. Again, this is a combined building, but this building would also include a new district office. Our current district office is the oldest building in the district. It was built in 1908. The floors are soft. When you walk through there, you sometimes wonder if you're going to end up in the basement down below, and that's a serious comment. That's not a joke. The foundation is cracking, the basement is leaking, and the basement is also not handicap accessible, which is an issue for us. The space is just small, inadequate. If you've ever been to a board meeting, you'll know that. So this one combined space, if you turn the page, I'll show you where that'll be located. The district 2 years ago purchased 57 acres just east of Fire Prairie Upper Elementary. This will make the district campus one continuous piece of property from Twyman Road, which is the main entrance there off of 24, to the district campus, all the way east of Fire Prairie. The outline there, the red outline, is where we would place the actual building. Go to the next page, I'll show you more specifics of the new proposed building. So folks have typically been, I know as you drive west toward Independence, you'll see Fire Prairie Upper Elementary on the right-hand side. This is the new drive. As if you were going to Fire Prairie Upper Elementary, you would just go straight instead of turning left. That's a new paved road that leads to the new building, as mentioned. You'll notice that letter A on front, the front is a 2-story new district office. It'll meet all the improvements that we talked about earlier and address those. And then the maintenance and transportation portion is in the back, and it too will have adequate space for folks to meet, also addressing all those concerns we mentioned about getting the equipment out, plenty of space for folks to work on equipment. And the other thing I want to mention, which is really important, it's always important, but everybody can understand why this would be important to me now. The larger parking lot on the north side, the top, those are for buses. And so currently we don't have a parking lot. We'll have our buses at various spots around the district, and they do not have electric hookups currently. So what that means is folks are going out about 3 in the morning when it's cold, starting the buses. That's inefficient. That's not good time management. We're paying folks to do that. So this would have electric hookups for every spot when it's cold out, inclement weather. You can plug those in. It's also going to be, they'll have a fence around that as well to keep the buses safe. There are several, I'm going to have you skip a page. It's the same thing, but I'll just get to the meat and potatoes of it. There are several parking and drive improvements. If you've been to any one of our schools primarily, except some of the ones we have addressed already, you'll know that we need to improve a lot of the parking. This happens to be Blue Hills Blue Hills Elementary. You'll get to that off of Blue Mills Drive. And if you've ever been there around pickup time, end of school, about 10 till 4, there's a line of cars along Blue Mills. You cannot get over, pull over, there's no shoulder. So what we're trying to accomplish here with the red, it's a partial circle drive where buses can pull in, which get them out of the main parking lot, which would allow all the cars off of Blue Mills. That's a really big safety concern that we would like to address. The next page has extensive improvements to parking and drives on the main campus. It's kind of hard to point with all of them here with the microphone and everything else, but I'll do my best. Again, I have it upside down, so that is really hard to see. I'm going to start on the left-hand side of your page. Again, when you pull off of 24 as if you're going to the new building, that's all new paved road. You're going to have new pavement in front of the central office that has adequate parking for visitors and employees. Already mentioned the new parking lot for buses. Also, you'll notice at Fire Prairie Elementary, there's a new circle drive which will allow better traffic flow for folks. Again, if you go there now, it's a real issue and a real problem there. Folks backing out, there's not room. Kids walking out, it's a safety concern. So we're trying to get folks off that main thoroughfare and trying to get them in and out of there easier. You also notice this portion here. It's a new bus. This is the transportation and maintenance drive that we would utilize from the new building to the main campus. And the reason we would want to do that is to get as much traffic off of 24 as possible. We don't want 46 to 50 buses pulling out of there at certain times of the day. This would allow them to get to the main campus. It would also allow the buses to load to the north instead of south. The reason that's important is if we do that, that will allow the traffic, the buses to remain separate from the cars. So as the buses are loading at a different location, all the other cars can continue to move and load and leave the campus. Which leads me to Osage Trail Osage Trail Middle School. To the south of that building is going to be a new rider pickup and drop off south of that school with about approximately 48 parking spots. You'll also notice that we are going to be looking to demolish all 3 buildings that I mentioned a while ago, if this is approved, and that will allow us to have additional parking in all 3 of those spots. For example, there, I'll just point out the maintenance building. That would include, once that's repaved and that additional parking is made there, that will be 500 spots alone. If you've ever been to any activities on games or anything else, you'll notice that there are several cars along Twyman Road. This will prevent that from happening in the future. We're also talking to MoDOT about how we can improve the entrance to the district parking lot, or the district main campus, the entryway. How can we improve that? If you drop students off in the morning, you can sometimes sit there for 10 or 15 minutes trying to leave. It's a concern, it's an issue with folks turning in and out of there. So what we're looking at, the possibility is through MoDOT, again, these are just conversations, we're gonna have a traffic study performed, is either a possible roundabout at the entryway, or a right-hand turn lane that would force folks to turn sooner. They would commit turning right, which would allow the folks leaving the campus easier. New gym at Fort Osage High School. The current, what we call new gym, quote unquote new gym, was built in 1967. At that time in history, there were 660 students in the high school. We now have nearly 1,500 students. If you go to any assembly, if you go to activities, you'll notice this is a picture on the bottom left, folks sitting on the floor. Concern obviously blocking any entry and exit. We have to really watch that. And then also beyond that, really lack of space in the area specifically for locker rooms. We need to improve those, add more. We have some teams that have to double up and things like that, which is a concern. Another concern is the low ceilings. The ceiling in the gym is currently 24 feet. One wouldn't know that that's not really standard. Standard is 32 feet. The reason that's important is because if you go to any volleyball game, you'll notice that they stop the game several times because the volleyballs hit the ceiling. It also is an issue during physical education classes. So we would improve that space. And it's mentioned there all the things we would improve with a new gym. The reason for a new gym as opposed to the renovation of the current gym, when we looked at that, the cost of a new gym is slightly more than a renovation of an existing gym. So it really made a lot of sense to just make that improvement. If you go to the next page, I'll show you what I've relocated. Location is just east of the existing gym. When I say just east, it will be attached. It's one building to the high school. One of the other things that I'm excited about is a new, more visible entry. If you're a spectator, if you go to that current gym right now, it's kind of a dark space, it's hard to find. It'll be more well lit and folks will be able to find that. One thing I want to point out now is keep in mind that if we're taking this parking, the other parking is important. The other parking that we talked about, those improvements need to be made first before we can just add that and take that parking.
The gym would then expand out to the current parking lot now.
That's correct. There would be still handicap parking, approximately 10 or 12 spots. But beyond that, again, we have the Career Center, which is directly east of there, not far. We have the new central office parking lot where that building exists, plus the other 500 spots that I mentioned earlier. The last project we would like to, that's on the ballot, is the band room remodel and expansion. The band has nearly doubled the last 10 years. When I became high school principal 10 years ago, a little bit more than that, 12 years ago, we had 83 students in the band. We now have 140. That's a good problem. But the problem exists is, where do you put the kids? There's a picture here on the left that kind of shows the space and just inadequate. We would expand the band room. Beyond that, the middle picture, you'll see about 7 or 9 steps there leading into the band room, which causes safety issues, carrying equipment in and out if there becomes a real problem. So we would expand the space and also improve the space. So now the part that everybody enjoys talking about, the funding. To briefly talk about funding, it's easier to explain when we talk about how districts typically spend their money. Typically, major projects like these that we're talking about are bond issue projects. New schools, renovations to buildings, expansions to buildings, district stadium improvements, those are typically bond issues, okay, bond issues. But you have a maximum. The district has a capacity of how much they could ask voters to approve. And that is based on our assessed valuation, the total assessed valuation of the district, and take that by 15%. So our current total that we have left, it's not our total amount because we have some other bonds out, is $20 million. So when we looked at this with our patrons, our priority list, and we talked about this, we were beyond this amount. We said, how can we not only get everything we've talked about tonight, but how can we do some other improvements in our district? Okay? So I'm going to have you turn over to the next page. And that's primarily why we have two questions on the ballot. Question one is a no tax increase bond issue. And we would be on that is the renovation of the kitchens, every kitchen we talked about, the construction of the new building we talked about, and all the parking improvements we talked about. That's the no tax increase $20 million bond issue. Question two is a 32-cent levy transfer. We are not asking voters to increase taxes. The taxes will remain the same, exact same. We're just simply moving money. Think of it from your checking account to your savings account as an example. We're simply moving the money from our debt service, they call it, or bond money to our operating money. So what is operating used for? Okay, and I listed it out there. But it's for your general costs of the district. It would be for salary, benefits, transportation, electricity, supplies, anything you can really think about, except for the bonds, except for those major projects, the brick and mortar. So by putting this question on the ballot, you not only get additional money in your operating, which is always, as a city council, you'll know, it's always important to have additional money in your operating, which we would be able to accomplish. We'd have more money in our operating, while at the same time, we'd be able to accomplish all the projects we talked about. We'd have some additional funds to build a new gym and also do the band room improvements. So how would that work? On the stage here. So what we're asking voters to, in question two, is a 32-cent levy transfer from our debt service to our operating levy over 3 years. So year one, we're looking at moving 20 cents from our debt service to our operating. Notice what the total amount is, $6.37. That's what the current levy is. That's what it was last year, that's what it was the year before, that's what it will be after, if this is approved. It's simply transferring money from one pot to another. So year one, year 2021, we're asking voters, again, 32 cents over 3 years. The first year would be 20 cents. 2021 would be moving 20 cents. Again, your overall levy remains at $6.37. Year two, which should be 2022, we're moving 6 more cents. And then again, finally in 2023, 6 additional cents. So why are we moving 20 cents in year one instead of all of it? In order to make question one a no tax increase bond issue, we're moving 20 cents to make it or allow it to still be no tax increase. We're moving only 20 cents instead of 32 cents year one, because we're able to pay down that debt more and then be able to transfer more the 6 cents year 2 and year 3. Here's a tentative timeline, and as you know, with construction, there is certainly that word tentative is very important, but we've sat down with our architect and our construction manager. In general terms, I'm not going to spend much time on this, I value your time, is in general terms, we have to have a certain sequence. I've already mentioned that we can't just go break ground on a new gym because of parking. So this is the sequence in which we would like to accomplish this. On April 6th, if this is successful, we would immediately call and start what we call the design phase. And that would be on the new building. Once the new building is started and completed, then you can move out of those 3 buildings. You can have additional parking. You repave everything, you do your bus lots, and then you're able to start on the gym. The reason that the band room is one of the last things there, or is the last thing, is because when we expand the band room, we're actually going to be utilizing a current locker room. So again, we need the new locker rooms and the new gym in order to expand and use that space for the band room. So April 6, there'll be 2 issues, both of which are no tax increase. Question 1, on this page here, is a $20 million no tax increase bond issue. What's important for voters to know and remember is that it's the very last bullet there. It does, before that, it explains what projects would be accomplished, but then the last bullet says, the district's debt service levy is estimated to remain unchanged. That means that it would not increase, the no tax increase. And then the last question, question 2, talks about how we're asking for a 32-cent transfer by increasing the operating. We are increasing the operating, but we're also, if you go down a little further, it says by decreasing the debt service. So again, the last bullet is very important. This would result in the estimated overall tax levy of the district to remain unchanged. Again, no tax increase. So what questions do you have for me?
Looking at the one takes 57% or something like that.
Yes.
The other one takes 50. What happens if one passes and the other doesn't? So you get 52% on both.
Great question. So bond issues, a little bit more information there. Question 1 needs a 4/7 or 57.4% approval rate, 57.1%. Okay? The second one is a simple majority, 50% plus 1. Question 2, it's 11. And that's based on state statute. Okay? Obviously, we would know if both of them pass what we would accomplish. I've already explained that. If question 1 passes and question 2 fails, we would simply move forward on all the projects we mentioned. All those get accomplished. The interesting piece is if question 1 fails and question 2 passes. You wouldn't do any of the question 1 projects, obviously. You would, on question 2, have a successful transfer of the money. You will have additional money in the operating to pay your bills and do everything we talked about, but you would not be able to do the 2 projects because, as mentioned, you have to do those other things and have more parking, for example, before those projects can be completed. So what we might do and seriously look at, obviously this is not my decision, but my recommendation would likely be to put question 1 back on the ballot relatively soon.
I know how that works.
I will mention in 2017, we had 2 issues on the ballot. We were very proud that both of those issues passed at the highest rate in our district's history. So we were excited about that and appreciate, we're excited that I believe every precinct had a really good turnout and also showed the support of that. So we were excited about that.
This may be a dumb question, but it says no tax increase, but if it doesn't pass, does the levy go down?
Does not. The levy would remain $6.37. Now, eventually, over time, 20 years from now, it could, if you don't ever need additional things accomplished. I'm not going to say it ever, but it is very common in every school district that I'm familiar with around us, around the state of Missouri, that it's very common that they have bond issues about every 3 to 6 years. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Well presented. Elected officials comments. Anybody else have?
I got one
Yes.
or 2. Hey Joe, thanks for this policy for the snow removal. I know you got your phone blown up, so thank you, I appreciate that. Is that somewhere where the public can view it, or is that something we might be able to look into?
I put on the website.
Yep, if you don't, just so that therefore people.
It's down at other books.
Yep.
I put on the website.
Awesome, I appreciate that, and I know you've been busy, but did you get a chance to talk to the website people about if it would cost more to do the rotating picture?
I just sent an email and I sent pictures from Raquel that she went on there and had got a response back.
Okay, thank you.
I sent 2 was actually.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
I talked to her mom and I uploaded new videos and all that too. I'll talk to her.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Coley.
yeah, Joe, somebody, a citizen had made me aware that sent the liquid treatment, they were plugged, like it was only using 1 or 2. And I think it was February 5th when we initially applied the treatment, it was only spraying 1 line, which mean, it wasn't gonna contribute to with all the snow and stuff, but just so you're aware,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that equipment is operating functionally and everything, when these snowstorms happen, but I do appreciate them getting out today and doing a ton of work. I mean, there's.
Yeah, and thank you for the sun coming out, so that really helped.
Amen. So, was there a timeline to get that sprayer fixed?
It's been fixed.
Oh, it's fixed.
They fixed it right away. They noticed it too, they noticed it, they did the downtown area, and they noticed it was always squirting. So they took it in, what it is, it's just a spray bottle that comes down, it's got the nylon tips, brass tips on it that actually is spraying. They took those all out, cleaned them, they sold gunk, and then there's two filters that's actually inside the tank that pumps it out, and those filters were clogged. And so they went and cleaned the filters, got them all going, and went back out again. And like it says in the letter, after each event, they do clean machines and grease them and check everything out and get them ready for the next slow event. Part of the problem was we had a new guy, Mason, that never done that feet check before, so he kind of freaked out, and Robert went down, showed him how to do stuff, you gotta check this before you take it off, clean this, you know, so. Next time we did it.
And what's our policy over this? We only have, what, 3 public works people, right? So one's gone for whatever personal reasons, and we have an event. What do we do?
Well, if the visitor come in.
Well, let's say
Unless they
they're-
got COVID, so like now.
Well, say one slips on the ice and falls and smacks his head. He's out.
Right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then I come back up, I plowed actually Monday. I came in and plowed, because when I came in, was cleaning downtown, and Robert was off of funeral leave, and so he was down one guy, so I jumped in and checked the plot all morning.
Call me if I have time, I'll donate some time to that kid. You need-
Well, that's enough, because we've been asked if the citizens can help out, which they really can't, because, you know, they're not covered by the insurance policy, and they would get a wreck or something like that, doing city streets, and.
Board members also.
What was it? I'd ask for Steve on that.
That was my question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not,
we got 3
No, that one not.
we got 3 trucks that got salt spreader plows on them, we got an old Ford 3-quarter-ton pickup truck that's got just a spreader on it, so just a plow on it, and then they got the, salt line tank in the back of that.
And hopefully, so Joe did type up behind the policy on the snow removal, just kind of a rundown on what like the sidewalks and what public works is, what the expectation is of public works and that sort of stuff, so that's in the packet as well. No one else has anything, we'll take the motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, good job there.
Keep that going.